Yo, tell me what you think about the scenario. So here we go, paint the picture for you so you can hear it in stereo. I do the most to keep it close, while you never coach. Keep you with pretty toes when you want to approach. Let's make it close to the good life. I'm talking right here and right now, cause in my arms you be safe and sound. You entertaining the other clowns, cause you ain't got time to be found around town. That's how we do it now. I really like to know if I could be the type of guy that you could be down for. If there's anything you need, girl, just tell me. Cause I can give you everything that you need and so much more. And if I take you home tonight, will you still care? Let me rock your body the way you like me. Pulling it in. When I wake up in the morning sunlight, will you be there? If I wanted you for the rest of my life, tell me, tell me, would you still care? Would you still care? Oh, would you be there? Would you still care? Tell me, would you still care? Would you still care? Would you still care? Be down for me. Girl, I would like to know if you're searching for a guy that you could really be down for. And if there's anything you need, you just tell me. Cause I can give you what you need and much more. Tell me how long, everything. Tell me, girl, will you still care? Will you get turned on by the thought of me pulling it in? If I had to do it all over again, yeah. Will you be there? So tell me, can you love me for the rest of my life? Oh, tell me, we still care. We still care. Oh, David, would you still care? We still care. I need you more. I need you more. This life is worth more if you're with me. The struggle ain't so hard to get to. You're beautiful. Good work. I want to tell you that I love the way you work it, girl, I want to make you mine, girl. Come on, let me hit it one more time, girl. Ooh, damn, you're fine, girl. Tell me. Just so you know, I put it down, mom. You know I'm coming for you, gunning for you. Cause I love how you make it do what it do. Just me and you, we have a dinner for two. And when you're through, we'll take a dip in the pool where the water's blue. I'm feeling you. So what you say, huh? Yeah, we can keep it in town or get away, ma. And if you ain't ready to leave, we got time. Go ahead, do your thing, cause we can leave any day now.
Peace and good evening, everyone. Yes, hold on 1 second. Let me get my life in order over here. Peace and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yananomics podcast. I am your host and visionary, Empress Ayana. And tonight's workshop is Healthy Relationship Habits, created and facilitated by Mr. Martin Barrett and Mrs. Nell Barrett of MLB Speaks. Thank you so much and welcome to Yananomics, y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
We're excited.
Yes. I am so excited about tonight and really like seeing y'all dig into this conversation and just partaking in it once it's all said and done. But please do tell the people a little bit about yourselves.
Wow. Let's see here. We can start out with a few things. Basically, we grew up together. We actually were childhood neighbors as kids. So basically, we always joke, we always say we had an arranged marriage, but actually it wasn't. Growing up together, same neighborhood, same street, same schools. Would you believe that? When we was back in our days, I'm a 60s kid, so back in the days, so we used to play a game called Boys Chase the Girls.
I know you're not going to tell that story again.
Tell it.
Listen, I'm going to be straight up. So
Yep.
kids today don't know nothing about all these fun things we did as kids.
No, they don't. They
the boys would chase the girls, and, so I caught her on the back staircase.
I don't remember that.
Please. And I caught her, and you know what? She wouldn't kiss me.
Nah, I don't remember that.
See, like you being too bad.
And but it's funny how when you look at life in general, we think, who would have thought from that one instance we was like 8, 9 years old that we become adults and we'd be married. That's just crazy. That is really crazy. You know what I mean? And we, so basically in a nutshell, we both, worked with kids, education in the community. We don't want to get too much into it because it goes into our presentation a little bit, what we're going to talk about tonight. But I worked in the music industry and for years, and had the privilege of, doing some sales and marketing for Alliance Entertainment and Sony Records as well. And was in a hip hop group for many years. And kudos to some of the guys back in the days of Solid Ice.
What's the name of that group? What's the name?
Solid Ice was the group.
Okay,
and then,
Solid Ice.
And then we was also with Above Sea Level as well. And, the goal was, our music was, when I was with Solid Ice, that's my BC days, we call them, before Christ days. And really, the hip hop, what we were doing, we, at that time, we weren't indulging into a lot of profanity and a lot of the hip hop you hear today. It was really, really not just conscious rap, but we actually rapped about a black president. You ready for this? 1987.
Wow, that's amazing.
1987. Yeah, 87, 88. And I listened to those songs, periodically. And then naturally we had, as a country, we ended up having a black president, which made a difference in a lot of people's lives and really inspiring them. But, I can go on and on about my history is deep and is long. I don't want to get on to that. I could talk all day.
You really can.
I honestly, my story's huge.
It is.
Yeah, I believe that, like 100%. Even in our conversation that we had a little while back when we first connected, like, you have a very extensive background in all of the things that you've touched. So I imagine you could probably take up this whole time and then some talking about your background.
And a lot of people who may be local, who may be watching in Connecticut in general, a lot of them don't even know a lot of the things that I've actually accomplished in life. I don't boast about it and things of that nature. I took my career paths and did the best that I could to make a living and at the same time make a difference. I always say, working in the music industry back then, I was making more money than most of those artists sitting behind a desk. Artists, they don't make that much money.
Yeah, I know. That's what I hear.
People think they don't make a lot of money.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff is like, I know we could go into that too, right? That's like a whole nother podcast, but a lot of that stuff is rented, is not real. Like, it's just a whole lot of things that kind of go on.
A lot of rented jewelry.
Sell the image. How would you say?
A lot of rented jewelry.
Exactly. Lots of rented jewelry, cars, all of that stuff. Like, these people are still living in the hood and,
Yes,
having to carry on their lives like regular in a lot of ways, just trying to make it every day. So that's phenomenal. Mrs. Berry, did you want to give us a little background?
Yeah, well, I just want to say that, I grew up here in local Bridgeport, and Connecticut here, and my background just consists of like really being in the community, doing things in the community, working in my local hair salon, and really want to impact young girls' life, and that was my thing I love to do, to make sure I make a difference in young girls' lives. And then it just pivot over to in the school system where I can make a difference. I wanted to be in a school where kids could see people that look like me and be motivated.
I love it.
She left out one part that's important for everyone that's watching out there, and that is when I was in the hip hop group above sea level, when we was doing our tour. This is how it all culminated, got back together, and she actually was. I don't know. Did you come to one of our shows? Anyway,
I was not a group.
I used to wear a wig on stage. I used to joke. I used to call us Afro Hair Club for Men. And one day she actually said, your wig is like,
yeah, his wig was out of whack. It was whack. So I just made a suggestion. Come on down to the hair salon. Let me blow it out and make a real fro for you. And it kind of started from there. I think my boss was like, "Ooh, that's a nice young man." I was like, "Yeah, here's a nice young man for somebody else." Little did I know. 26
you like,
years
no,
later,
thank you.
Yeah, 26 years later, he's mine.
I love it. That's an amazing story. And I see, one of the things that he mentioned to me, and then I saw in some of the pictures that you all take, is that you're very into fashion. And I could see right now tonight that you're about that fashion life. You know what I'm saying? I see you representing. You got the colors, Rasta colors on tonight. Okay, I love it. 100%. So how does fashion play a role in your life?
That's just something that, I just kind of love to do. You just like kind of put things together. It just comes naturally, you just kind of like see something, you want to be different from everybody else. And you just kind of bring color and style together.
Well, I love it. You have great style.
Yes. Just like your braids. I love it. It's different. It's not like everybody else's.
Yes, that's so funny because I was like, oh, how I'm gonna do my hair? I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it down like this because it's different. So I definitely feel you when you talk about just wanting to step outside of what would be considered the norm for a lot of people and just expressing yourself through your fashion and things like that. So because that's how I express myself, and it's very important to me. So I respect and love it 100%. I'm going to let y'all get into your presentation, and I'll be right here in the background should you need me, okay? And just make sure you project so people can hear you very well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Well, we want to invite everybody to do one thing, and that is to the moderator will work the chat room for us because it's a little different how we're set up here to do it. So we can't actually do chat and actually do the speaking. So thanks for the warm welcome. And we want to welcome everyone, whether you're dating, you're in a relationship, looking to get in a relationship. If you've been married for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, or well, not 100 years, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Literally. So we're going to jump right into this here. You could follow along with us. We appreciate what you guys are doing. So today we're going to just start out talking about habits of couples in healthy relationships. And everyone knows someone that actually is in a relationship. And some of you may have seen what bad, habits that couples have displayed. It could have been a parent. It could have been a family member, a friend, or a relative. Whatsoever. So we all know what those bad habits look like. But tonight we're going to go into something different. And we're going to take it a little step further. And healthy relationships share several commonalities. And what that basically means is there are healthy relationships have many things that are in common, right, babe?
That's true.
And we want you to walk away tonight with something to know, wow, this is what a healthy relationship is in. Well, you may be in a healthy relationship tonight, or you may not be in a healthy relationship. And hopefully today you're going to walk away with some nuggets and some gems, as we always say. So by adopting some of these successful relationship habits, tonight, what you're going to do really is you're going to set yourself up for success. You're going to put yourself in a position to be able to say, you know what, by implementing some of these things tonight and for the future, you're going to create a successful opportunity for the relationship that you have or the relationship you desire to have in the future. So one of the things that we definitely want to make mention before we really dive into what we're going to discuss tonight, right now, and that is many of the habits that you see that we're going to discuss tonight. You may say, you know what? Hey, Nell, Martin, that's just common sense. I do that. You know, I've done that. But one thing we understand for sure, and that is you're not doing most likely every single thing that we're going to discuss tonight. And we want you to really, we don't want you to raise your hand, but we want you to raise your heart. And that's important. We don't want you to raise your hand because we don't want to know, don't type in the chat, you know, what my husband, my spouse, or my significant other's doing wrong. But we want you to, one is get yourself a writing utensil and a piece of paper. And we want you to take notes tonight because it's very important. We want you to not just listen, but we want you to be an active participant in what we're doing tonight. Can we do that?
Yeah, so we want you to take away some nuggets and we want you to start applying those things into your relationship. Because
we know that a lot of the habits that you learn tonight, you say, well, I do that already. But we know if you've been in a relation for some time or a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be, after a while, all relationships fall into a routine. And when they fall into those routines, as you can see here, those routines, you become stuck. And that's what we do. You become stuck in that relationship. And we hope today that you're going to get unstuck with what we're going to share. So basically, this is just 10 ways how you can actually strengthen your relationship. And we know that if you're really listening intently tonight, you're going to walk away with some really good nuggets. And we're going to try to do our best to make it through this hour and give you some time to Q&A afterwards. So I'll let you take it from here, babe.
Okay, thank you. So you want to make a big decision jointly. It's important for you guys to come together and make decisions together. Yeah, it has to be together. Because for the simple fact that, you know what, you don't want to take away your partner's control when you don't allow them to be a part of the decision.
Exactly. And one of the things we know of the individual, they purchased a home, you know, young couple. Listen, they love each other. We don't give names because we believe in confidentiality. And listen, bought a house unbeknownst to his wife. Now, if there's anybody out there watching, if you could type in the chat, do you think that was a wise decision? Type in yes or no. We say that was not a wise decision for him to purchase a home, you know, at that point, because, you know, when you're making a big purchase like that, buying a car, I think you should both know about it. Listen, hey, last week I bought a shirt. Now, I'm not going to go to my wife and go like, hey,
no, you don't.
I bought a $12 shirt.
No.
You know what I mean? So, but big decisions, those are financial decisions, especially any decision in general, should be made jointly. We're going to run to this next one here. And that is, number 2 is what, babe?
We want to make forgiveness a way of life. You got to have, you know, a point in your life where you're going to say, all right, I forgive you, and not harbor things.
Because there are plenty of opportunities for us for forgiveness. Now, I don't know about you all, but I know that Nell and I, we like to go on cruises. And if you like to go on cruises, you know you like to have fun, okay? And forgiveness should be an active part in your relationship. Because when forgiveness is not an active part of your relationship, a lot of things can begin to happen. And that's when the wonderful thing called what, babe? Resentment. Resentment will settle in. And when a ship goes into the dock, one of the things it does, it sits there for a while. When we went to the Bahamas on that last recent cruise, what that ship did, it put its anchor down. And that's what you do when you harbor unforgiveness, and it leads to resentment. You say, I'm going to put my anchor down. I ain't moving,
and I'm not letting it go.
And that's not a good thing, right, babe?
Not a good thing at all. The one thing that we do in our marriage, we always say that my spouse is not my enemy.
That's right.
So,
and that's important that you understand that your spouse, significant other, is not your enemy, because resentment, it's actually super toxic. It's unfortunate when we look at what happened in Russia, for example, a current event thing here. Let's look at this here. When Chernobyl had the nuclear disaster. Listen, nuclear chemicals are toxic. So when you harbor resentment and unforgiveness in your relationship, listen, you just went nuclear. All you're doing is killing it. So what you have to learn to do is, it's very important to not just move on, but you need to do some wonderful things. And that is, you need to communicate, which we're going to talk about later.
Mm-hmm. And then you also want to start sharing common interests. It's important to do things together. The more time you spend together, the more things you do together, you spend more time together. And, the more things you guys have interests of what you guys are doing. So it's important to have common interests. I know I like basketball. Martin likes basketball.
I love basketball. See, here's the thing. See, she likes the Fakers, and I like the Miami Heat.
That's okay, though. That's okay. It's okay.
And but it's all good, though. Even though we have a different likes when it comes to our team, but we still have common interests together. Basketball, we both like music, so we go to concerts together. We go to NBA games together, high school and college. So write down on your paper right now, what common interests do you have in common with your spouse? Write down what are some common interests you guys have together. Give you a minute. You got that? Wonderful. And the next thing we want to look at tonight, and some of the habits of healthy couples, is before we do that, and that is, you must have at least a few things that you can enjoy together. Just like Nell and I, there's got to be a few things that you actually enjoy together. So write down those common interests that you guys enjoy together. Now, let's say, for example, if you're not dating, think about the interests that you actually have, and think about, if you're looking to see someone, you're dating someone, think about the interests that they have. You see, common interests, what that's going to do is it's going to help you grow closer as a couple. And I know our common interest has actually helped us. Would you say?
Absolutely.
And that's important, that when you have those common interests, for example, Nell is not a meat eater. She got me eating quinoa, so Nell's a vegan. She loves veggies and all that stuff. I was never like that, but I must truly say, okay, for everyone out there, she saved my life, because there was a time I was eating 3, 4, 5 steaks a week. I don't think I used to drink water, and I used to drink soda, and everything of that nature that was not very healthy. Her lifestyle, it became a common interest, because her healthy living helped save my life. Would you say?
Definitely, I would say so.
Yeah, you and Dr. Zoe.
And now you have to practice acceptance.
Who your significant other is. So we got another activity for you. So everyone, I don't know about you, but I know I do. And
I do too as well.
We all have our flaws. So what I want you to do on your paper right now, I want you to write down the flaws that your significant other has. You can think about your spouse, your fiance, the person you're dating. I want you to write down the flaws, just 2 or 3, the flaws that you think that they have that they need to work on, because we all know that our partners definitely, without a doubt, have some flaws, right?
Something that get on your nerves.
Yeah, really get on your nerves. Now, here's the big thing, right, babe?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard enough to change your own habits. Changing someone else is even more challenging. See, that was a trick question.
That was a very tricky question.
Yeah. So what we all need to do, we need to accept each other as we are. And that's important. Accepting who as we is. You know what I mean? Like, listen, that means everything. You know, you got to take the whole package.
The whole package.
What's the old saying? It is
what it is.
And a lot of times we want out. And relationships, they take work. And we have to work through those challenges and accept, you know, our partner, our spouses, just for who they are.
And make your partner feel loved. Who doesn't want to feel loved? That's why we're in a relationship, right?
Exactly. You see, each person feels love by different words and actions. There are different things that will make every individual feel loved and appreciated. For example, one day my wife texted me and she said,
my day is really tough. I'm having a really bad day today.
And, you know, we're not alcohol drinkers. But you know what I did? I said, I try to think outside the box, do something that she really loves. So I made my version of a mimosa. So got me some orange juice, the real good kind, you know, and I got me some ginger ale, poured it in there, had some food ready. She came through the door, walked through the door. She came through the door. That's the hip hop in me. And listen.
Let me tell you, when I opened that door and he just had that glass, it's like, here, babe, I love you. I know it was hard, but here, this is for you. And I was like, wow. And I mean, my whole inside just lit up. And I was like, thank you. And then when I turned the corner, dinner was already being on the stove. He was already preparing dinner. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's speaking my love language.
Yeah. So that's what we got to do. We have to learn what makes your partner feel loved and make it a habit of doing those things. And we call it honor. You know, when our kids, we have 2 adult kids. And, you know, one of the things we did when our kids was little, we all went to a conference, and the conference was about honor. And honor is actually doing something without someone asking you to do it, and make it a habit of doing things that makes your partner feel loved. So you're not in a relationship, right? So now, you know, when you get into a relationship, you're going to know what to do. You want to do things that's going to make your partner feel loved. Listen, it don't take a lot of money to do these things.
Not at all. If you know your partner likes mangoes, hey, you could go to the grocery store and pick up a few mangoes and just, you know, bring them on back and say, hey, I was thinking about you today.
That's right. One of the things we've learned, it is the little things that matter.
And then you also have to enjoy some activities separately. It's important for you to be with your sister girlfriends, as I call them, because, you know, there's some things that they understand. We are emotional creatures, and, you know, iron sharpen iron. You know, that's that support system that I get from my sister girlfriends. And
the brothers, you know, and me being around other men, I always say iron sharpens iron when it comes to men. You know what I mean? Because there are things that my spouse cannot answer or satisfy. It's because no one can satisfy 100% of your needs. It's not fair to have that expectation of your spouse or the person that you're dating. It is not fair to them, and it's not fair to you, because they know they can do it. So it's important to enjoy time out with your coworkers, some friends. Matter of fact, I think you're going to be going away to some friends somewhere, which is awesome. And naturally, I'll be home. Just kidding.
I'm quite sure you find something to do. Call some friends, some brothers up.
Definitely. So this is something that we like to share, and this is important, right, babe?
Yeah, it's bedtime, and we do understand that everybody's on a different schedule, but it's important for you to make that time with your spouse. And I know in our life, And Martin, there's time where I go down a little earlier than Martin, but Martin makes sure it's important that he spend time with me. And therefore he'll come in and he'll snuggle and, do all those things, pillow talk, all that stuff we do before I go to sleep. And then once I'm asleep, he gets up and he continue on with his day, his work, or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. It's like sitting on the toilet, and your legs go to sleep. My arm goes to sleep because she's laying on my arm. But it's important to hit the sheets at the same time several nights each week. And we know, like you said, now our schedules get really busy, but it's important. You have to prioritize that this particular thing, because we know that with our busy schedules, things can complicate the relationship when we don't have that snuggling time, those moments together in the bed at the end of a long day. You may work days, you may work nights. You need to make it a point to say, you know what, we need to get together, because when you are apart, listen, that invites the enemy. As you know, we're faith-based, we're Christians. So number one, we look at relationships from that point, from a marital standpoint, and that is, listen, the more you're apart, that's a breeding ground for others to come into the relationship. So even if you go to bed with your partner and then get back up after they've fallen asleep, that's good. At least you get snuggling. We snuggle a lot, early on, and on weekends. Our weekends, we try to keep them light if we're not speaking somewhere. But like on a Sunday afternoon, we take naps.
Yes, we take naps.
That's right, like old kids.
Old kids.
And so that's just something we do. And naps are another way, as I just said, to shift the schedules to coincide with your partner. So you figure, I'm working all week. It's been hectic. I've been traveling, and I travel a lot for business. Listen, when I come back home, I don't want to go anywhere. So sometimes we're just sitting on the couch or in the media center, in our media room, or just in the bed, just snuggling. And that's good, because you get that physical bond with each other. We're going to move right along.
And you have to communicate openly. There's no secrets.
Wait.
You got to say what you on your mind. You're not a mind reader.
Listen, I don't read minds.
Are you a mind reader?
Listen, I'm being straight up with you. Listen, let me tell you something. And no one should have to guess your feelings, opinions, or complaints. And this goes back to the earlier when we talked about making big decisions. I believe that, we both believe that when you are openly communicating what's in your heart, what's bothering you. Now, when we first got married, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a transparent moment.
Transparent moment. Okay. Listen, I would get off work. I'm going to be honest with you. I would walk through this is a guy who's lived on his own for years. I'm married now. I'm a single guy. I got a beautiful woman. I came through the door, walking some more. I would take my shirt off, my pants off, shoes. It was like
the trail, yes. And wherever the clothes stopped, that's where he was.
Listen, I was shedding clothes. I was shedding like a snake. I was shedding my clothes.
You're like, yo, we don't do that.
It's something I had to get used to. So that was a complaint of hers, and vice versa. We both have things that kind of like that bother us. So, but if she didn't express that verbally to me, I wouldn't have known. And that's important. Right. So if you're not doing that, you need to start doing that. Mm-hmm. But in the process,
you got to be fair and speak up,
because you're going to save yourself and your partner a lot of grief. Mm-hmm. Listen, people have high blood pressure. People have headaches in relationships, and that's because they hold it in. They don't speak up, or when they do speak up, they're being mean about it.
Yeah, about to say.
So you want to be fair.
You want to be fair, and then you also want to share a vision of your future.
Now, this is something that's near and dear to us, because we've always been impacting lives and people who are out there in the community. Now, here's something interesting here. When we first got married, we was just be with other couples, encouraging them. And then I became actually a pastor senior pastor. And when I left the music industry, moved to Connecticut, we used to live in Florida. Listen, we were still impacting couples and continue to impact couples, young. And Nell had this thing that she would always tell young girls that were single that, you don't settle for less.
You can't settle for less. Know your worth.
That's right. Know your worth.
Know your worth.
And because you have a worth.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing a vision is important. Know what your goals. Where do you see yourself doing things together? I mean, MLB Speaks has been in the making for many, many years. So this is not something we just started. This has been in the making for over 5 years. Prior to that, we've owned other businesses as well. So we've consistently shared our vision together. I remember because Nell used to be a hairstylist. Well, she still is because she still has her license. But I've always wanted to say, you know what? We should open up a nail salon, but have male nail techs. It'll be huge.
Yeah,
that'd be huge. Listen, I think it'll be a hit, but maybe that'll be in the future.
Maybe in the future.
But for now,
but at that time.
But for now, this is a vision. So
this is our heart right now.
Look at what you're doing and write down on your paper with your pen, what is your vision? So 2 people working together to a common goal are more likely to stay together than 2 people on different paths. What are your common goals? And we're not saying do a vision board. Some people say they like vision boards. Mm-hmm. Some say they don't. But what are your common goals, the things that you guys share together? Write that down. And we want you to think about that. Here's an activity we want you to do, okay? And we want you to, on that piece of paper, on a separate sheet of paper, on the scale of 1 to 10, right?
On a scale of 1 to 10, we want you to rate your relationship from 1, not so good, 10 being great.
That's right. Now, don't show that. Now, if you're watching this session with your significant other, you're dating, your spouse, your fiance, don't show them the number that you wrote. Fold it up, and then after we're done with today's session, share that with each other. And some of you are going to have a 10. Some are going to be like, one's going to be a 2, some going to be an 8. But now don't fight over it. But that's going to give you an opportunity to discuss. But back to the vision, we want you to create a shared vision and work together to accomplish it. Now, you may say, I'm a 10, and he may say, I think we're a 5 in our relationship. Now you got to come to how can we work together and better the relationship that we have today. Very important.
And then you have to trust rather than distrust.
Yes.
Trust is very important in a relationship.
It is. So let's say, for example, we always talk about this one thing, right? Trust. So you're planning a party for me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, one of your girlfriends happened to see you sitting down with this dude having a sandwich, right? And they go, hey, Martin, let me call you. I just seen Nell sitting down with this guy at so-and-so cafe. So guess what?
Things could start if I didn't trust you.
I didn't trust. If I didn't trust
me,
you
or whatever. But here's the thing. That person that saw that individual should have just walked up to the individual too.
That's right. So now a whole big thing's going to get blown out of proportion because, hey, she was with a party planner planning a party for me. Right. So that's not true. Okay, guys, I'm just letting you know that's just made up. But when you don't have a complete picture, which this individual who may have seen the person, it creates a problem. So the question is, do you lean toward trusting or distrusting your partner? Where do you lean? To a trust or distrust? Because in a relationship, it's imperative that we have trust. Trust is very important.
Distrust, it hasn't been earned. It's like poison in a relationship. So you need to give your partner the benefit of doubt and then appreciate it.
Very true. And I'm not talking about poison. Y'all know who the group, poison. No, listen, literally, distrust is like poison. When I get a clogged drain, you know what I do? I pour a chemical in the pipe so it can eat everything up. And that's what distrust do. It's like poison. It will eat your relationship up. And it's very important that you keep communication on top of the table and you begin to work through any
issue, no matter what it is. Communication is the key.
It is the key.
Right. And then also too, I've thought about too. I think it's vital too that people also keep in their mind and the back of their frame of their mind that, hey, why are we together?
Exactly.
Some people forget that.
Exactly. What brought us together? Exactly. What brought us together? So creating a trusting bond that can stand the test of time.
That requires work and effective set of habits like we sharing with you today.
That's right. You got to have good, healthy relationship habits in your relationship. It is imperative and is very important.
And remember, it's the little things that matter.
So take the time to examine your relationship habits and enhance them whenever you can. Really examine them. Think about the things that you're doing, because just a few small changes can mean the difference between your relationship thriving
or failing.
That's right. And I don't know about you, but I think everyone that's watching wants their relationship to thrive. So what we want you to do today?
We want you to start with some happy habits today.
So
start applying those things.
Don't wait. Say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just start this tomorrow. You know what? Maybe next week. You got to start today. It's important that you start creating healthy habits today.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people say, I'm going to wait. You know, that's the big procrastination is one of the biggest problems that people in relationships have. And we want you to really start examples of exemplifying healthy habits. So, hey, listen, we're going to be here for the next several times. We'd love to have a chat. We're going to stop sharing on this portion of the session.
But also, don't we want to tell them about our website where they can get information? You can go to MLB Speaks. .com. I'm sorry, I should know it myself. And we have a healthy worksheet.
That's right, exactly.
You know, we have a his and a her and a couple relationship. So you have his, her, and one together worksheet, and you guys could contact us, and we can get that out to you. And that'll be another step in helping you communicate in your relationship and helping, applying the things that we share today as well.
Listen, when you go through the worksheet, it's in your face.
It really is.
And you know what? And
some people hard questions.
They are hard questions.
Those are hard questions.
You can email us at info@mlbspeaks.com. That's info@mlbspeaks.com. And you can find us on all social media handles, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're on all those handles under mlbspeaks.com. Send us a message. Say, hey, we would like to get those free resources for you or from you.
Yay! That was so good. I want to be like y'all when I grow up. I just want y'all to So I am loving it 100%. I think y'all had some great points that y'all touched on and everything. And it was very thorough. It was a very thorough presentation. It wasn't like, belabored. It wasn't so long. It wasn't so drawn out. It was like to the point, on point, and I love it. So when you got to the point where you were like, list your partner's flaws, I thought that was so funny because, like what might be a flaw to us, like if that person was in a different relationship, that might be a strength to their partner in a different relationship. So it's like, it was interesting to me what we might call a flaw. You know what I'm saying? Like what really is a flaw. So, but at the same time, no, some of us really do got some flaws, no matter what relationship you in, whether it be like things that you're looking to overcome, baggage, like, cause I think about myself, right? Having childhood trauma And there's a lot of people who have it. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we bring this stuff into our relationships. And obviously, we expect for our partner to make it a priority to deal with the things and the matters in their life that make them not happy. However, the reality is that we all come from somewhere. We're all dealing with something. And one person might call it a flaw and somebody might call it something else. And maybe it really is a flaw, no matter who's looking at it. But I love how y'all brought it back to just saying, accept your partner for who they are, because at the end of the day, it's like supporting. You have to support your partner through the things that they might be dealing with because you chose them. So I just love that. I thought that was really
we do that activity. We just did a couples event about a week or two ago, and we always ask people to write down your spouse's flaws. So they're thinking, everyone's always writing. You're like, yeah, let me write down what's wrong with them. I mean, like some people probably got like 10 or 15 things on there.
They bark too loud. They snore.
Yeah, listen. Then we get to the nitty gritty. Okay, draw a circle around yourself, and that's what people don't do.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes too we forget. We love to point the finger at somebody else, but we forget that there's 3 more pointing back at ourselves.
Listen, when you point your finger, look at that. There's 3 pointing back at you. We forget, and we a lot of times we don't, like you. I think, like you said, we forget that the flaws could be a strength in the long term.
Right.
So how can we turn that flaw into something that's positive, something that's significant that can bring value to the relationship? Mm-hmm. And I don't. And listen, we have the saying. A lot of people have gone to learn about relationships. They've gone to what university?
Parents 101.
The University of Mom and Dad. And listen, a lot of people, they have bad examples from their parents.
What a healthy relationship looks like.
So they're going into the relationship with a bad idea of what a relationship actually is.
Absolutely.
Not knowing how to communicate. Listen, how many guys out there even like love on their significant other spouses, even like opening the door? I was out somewhere one time. I'm just being a nice guy. Excuse me. I opened the door for someone. And this lady looked at me like, what? I was like, you know what? Okay, whatever. I'm just being nice. And you have to say to yourself, how do we take those flaws, accept the person for who they are, and grow from there? It's critical.
It's vital. I think another issue is that people come into a relationship where they're not complete within themselves first, and then they expect their partner to complete them. So I believe that you have to be whole within yourself before you can give yourself to someone. Does that
makes a lot of sense? Because listen, there are a lot of lonely married people. Trust me, we know some. And relationships don't make you whole. You listen. Before we were married, we tell single people, and this is for all the single people out there. Listen, it's okay to go to a restaurant by yourself. It's okay to go to the movies by yourself. Listen, if you don't love who you are,
you gotta love yourself first.
How you gonna love somebody else?
Definitely.
I love that.
It's like you go home. It's like you're afraid of the dark. You're scared of your shadow. Like, come on, please. Okay, enjoy yourself sometimes. Have fun. Put some music on. Enjoy your time.
That's right. Have a good time.
It's like, what were you doing before you got into the relationship? Like, like you were living your life and stuff like that. But you're right. I think a lot of people do expect for their partner to like fulfill the needs that they haven't even fulfilled for themselves, like type of a thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with your partner being strong in certain areas, or like providing you that support and that love and that comfort or whatever. But I do believe, to your point, is that you have to be whole and know who you are outside of this relationship. Otherwise you get lost. Like, and to your point, in the presentation, like autonomy. Like you still should do things outside of your partner, and whether it be by yourself or whether it be with friends and family or whatever you do, but you should have a sense of self and a
It's
life,
healthy. It's healthy
basically,
because
outside
when
of
you
your partnership.
Yes.
because when you come back together at home after that, you got something to talk about.
That's right.
Think about it. I mean, listen. When Nell goes away with her girlfriends or sister girlfriends, she come back. Oh, we had a great time. That's awesome. That's fantastic. What'd you do? I stay at home. I'm just kidding. But hey, it's all good.
Right. Like I'm just here. But you good. You feel whole. There's
you know who he is. Yeah, I don't need to be around
exactly.
him.
And you guys have built a foundation that makes each of you feel comfortable and confident in your partner. That trust that we talked about earlier. The trust.
Right.
I mean, excuse me, that y'all talked about. I ain't talking about it. That you spoke about earlier. Yeah, like having that trust in place is everything. You can just rest easy, enjoy your time, whether when y'all not together, and enjoy your time together. Like I am loving it. So another thing, well, y'all said a lot of things, so I want to cover a few of the things that you talked about. And making your partner feel loved by different words and actions. I am big on that. Like I love like flirting and just, all that stuff. It's so good. It's so
Healthy.
good. I just love it. And I think sometimes people underestimate the power of just a few words, or like you said, the small things, the little things matter, right? The small things matter. And I think people underestimate that. I find great value and happiness in the small things, because that person's thinking about you, that they understand who you are, how you operate, how you work. And I guess that brings you into kind of like love language too, right? Because
that's right.
One person might like, gifts, the other person just wants coloring, or just to watch a movie together. Can you speak a little bit to love language?
Listen, so I'll give you an example. My love language, and she'll talk about her love language. I love getting cards. Listen, you ain't got to buy me no expensive gift. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
It means nothing to me. I tell my kids that, I tell my wife that, anyone. You get me a card, because cards to me, and especially as I've gotten older in life, I'm not old, but I'm not young. We're in our 50s, mid 50s pushing. But listen, we said, to me, when I get a card, I will take that card. I have cards from when I was young. And to me, it means a lot to me, because I can always make money. But the card to me, it resonates to me for years down the road. Not just, I got cards that my mom got me when I was like 18 years old. I still have them. I got cards when she has since passed away at 77, but I still have cards that I got the cards when she kept every card that I've gotten her. So for me, a card, it does a lot. It may sound, a lot of guys may say, oh, that dude's kind of corny, he's hokey. But listen, I don't need no new clothes, no new sneakers. I don't care about fancy cars. But listen, get me a card, call it a day. I'm a happy dude.
And that goes back to what you were saying about words. Words are powerful, and that's what you enjoy the most is
exactly
the words. And whereas my love language, I love touch. You know what I mean? Just because I'm touching you, don't mean it has to always be sexually. You know what I mean? It's just a fact that I just want to be next to you. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate just that touch, that hug, holding my hands. And someone was like, "Oh, don't hold her. I don't want her hands." Oh, you'd be surprised.
Right.
Holding hands would do to somebody,
Right.
And
right.
A lot of men have to do one thing. They have to understand that touch. Women are emotional and men are visual, and they have to understand that every time you touch a woman, it doesn't mean like, hey, they want to have sex. And that's a problem. with a lot of men. And you have to understand, once men, we get that out of our framework, our thinking, listen, you can enjoy life and do a whole lot of things in life.
Right. I hear that. And okay, so there's a couple things. So we have a question, but before I go into that, I just wanted to ask you, because you talked about how you keep cards, right? From like over the years, cards are really important to you. I wanted to know the two of y'all's perspective on bringing things in the relationship from past relationships, because sometimes people hold on to things, they think it's innocent, like to them it's no big deal, like whether it be keeping pictures of your partner, because now we have social media, right? So keeping pictures of your old partner on social media, or in that old box, like up in the attic or in the basement somewhere, you still got pictures of your exes and all of these things. How do y'all feel about that?
I think it goes back to trust again.
Yeah, it does. But also, too, you have to be very careful, because you have to affair-proof your relationship. And you listen. We're spiritual. You know that we come from a faith-based perspective. Listen, everybody's knocking on the door of your relationship, and everybody ain't your friend. There's a story that I usually share. And that story basically talks about this guy, someone connected with him on Facebook. He's sleeping, him and his wife are sleeping in bed, and he gets up, he gets a ding on his phone. An old fling lady who used to work with, an old ex connected with him on social media. She said, I was thinking about you, and all that good stuff. And he connected with her, and then she says, you know what? I heard that you were in a really long-term relationship and everything. And he goes, I don't know about this here. And lo and behold, he puts his phone down. He goes, man, he said, man, I'm blocking her, man. Done. Because he looked at his wife. He goes, why would I want to mess this up? She left her mom, her dad, her brother, her family to come. Listen, she loves him. Look at her sleeping so nicely. Man, he goes, man, I blocked her, man. I ain't got a time of the day. So you got to know your limits.
You got to set up boundaries.
You don't set boundaries. Let me tell you something. That door, all you get, the old saying, you open it an inch. Let me tell you something.
They're going to try to kick that sucker in. It's a wrap now.
Listen, I was on business trips. Listen, I travel a lot. My wife knows everywhere I go, people goes, it's not a trust thing. We keep everything above boards. I'm in LA on a business trip, and I'm just having dinner. I'm talking to my wife. This lady next to me in my favorite, nice vegan restaurant I go to out there in California, out in San Francisco. This is San Francisco. She's like, hey, you want to come over here and try some of my food? Well, it wasn't about the food. It was about trying her food, if you get what I'm talking about.
Trying to hit on him while I'm on the phone.
I'm on the phone. And I'm like, and I'm doing the Mary guy thing, like the finger, It didn't even matter.
You don't see this?
It didn't even matter. Literally like 3 times. So you have to know your place, and you got to set boundaries, like Nell said. If you don't set boundaries early, listen, it's going to be problematic.
It's so true. I want to get to this question, and I want to talk about something else. So, Icy Holmes on YouTube says, how do you deal with burnout or waiting, whether it be for marriage, financial security, partner to accomplish goals, so you can move forward together in the relationship? How do you deal with that?
Time can be a good friend sometimes. And one is, we pray about everything we do, number one. But outside of that, how do you deal with it? One is burnout. You have to get rest. And one of the things we understand is, when I used to travel a lot, I mean, like a lot, it was burnout. You got to say, okay, great. You got to, once again, set those boundaries and say, where's your limit? You have to make a plan, even like financial security. We tell couples all the time, when it comes to financial security, listen, if you fail to plan, your plan will fail.
Well,
You
this
must.
may not be a question that's for married couples. Like,
It doesn't
I
matter
think
in
this
general.
person could potentially be single based off of the
Yeah, they could
question.
be
And I
single.
think
Yeah,
what
they,
they're
if
asking, go ahead.
even if they're single or not or married, you for financial security you must plan. And I see the question there says whether it be for marriage or financial security, you must have a plan. You know, the audacity of stupidity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
That's right.
And so you say, you know, hey, I want to buy a house or I want to buy a car, but yet you eat out every day, or you got a $240 a month cable bill. Well, guess what? Let me give you an example. This has nothing to do with marriage, but we're very financially responsible. We've never had cable TV. Now, do the math. We've saved $45,000 just by not having cable TV over the years of being married. Cash.
Right.
We've
That's
been
an amazing
streaming.
amount of money.
We've streamed ever since 2002.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make a plan. You have to say, okay, where do I want to be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, whether you're married or single, you know, and say how to accomplish those goals is by making a plan. Listen, one of the things I live by is surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me.
I love that.
Honestly, you know, if you're constantly around individuals who, I'm not saying you can encourage people. I'm always around people who are not as smart as me. I want to encourage them, but you have to be around people who know a little more than you. That's how you're going to grow as well.
I love that. I just wanted to say, because I think in terms of the context of this question, I think what they're asking is like, how long do you wait for a partner to be ready in relation to wanting to be in a relationship with them? That's more serious.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, do you have any suggestions around dating tips? How long maybe you should wait for somebody to be ready, or what some of the signs are maybe that they're ready? You know, I think that's
Yeah.
what I'm feeling that they're
Okay.
coming from, you know, from that question.
Did you want to take
And
some of
I
that?
see, Holmes, you can correct me if I am incorrect, but that's what I took from it.
Okay, well, I think far as like how long to be in a relationship before moving on, I think too, the individual will have to make a sort of like what Martin says, a plan. Me personally, I wouldn't want to be with someone year after year after year and there's no serious commitment. So to me, I believe that to set a plan, a goal with this individual, and that goes back into what we were saying. You know, you have to have a vision with the person that you're in a relationship with, and find out, okay, what are our long term goals? What are we in this relationship for? Where is this relationship going? And that goes back to communication. So once you're communicating with your significant other, that right there should give you some kind of information leeway to how far you want to go, or am I going to move on, because you know what type of relationship you're in, and you know, because of communication, the person that you with, whether it's going to go, if it's going to head in far as towards marriage, or if it's not. So that's up to you. And you kind of, like I tell y'all, a lot of young people, set your boundaries high. You know what you want, so if you want to settle for that, then that's you.
Don't settle for
So you
less.
shouldn't have to settle for that. You know what you want, and if that person is not providing where you want to go, then you should start, looking elsewhere, or walk away from it and move on.
Yeah, like knowing when to walk away, right? Like when something's not working for you. And basically, you know, I feel like relationships too are a lot about intuition, what feels right. You know, it's not even so much about what feels right because, oh, you know, you're dealing, like you're caving in to your fears or your old stuff, or that's not, you know, like what I'm saying. It's like, you know, you want for people, well, not people so much, but it's important. I lost my train of thought. I don't know how, but yeah, I have no. It's because I'm reading stuff. I'm like looking at different things or whatever. But I forget what I was just about to say.
But I'll say one thing, and that is, sometimes people be in a relationship and they be like, "Yeah, we've been dating for like 8 years." I'm like, that's like too long. 8
That's
years.
a long ass time. I'm
like,
sorry. Like
that's a long
5 years. Listen, 4 years is like, well, okay, where's the commitment here,
that's what
man?
I'm saying. Where's the commitment?
Like,
what's going
listen,
on? You know what you want.
I'll talk about intuition. Now I remember.
Okay, yeah.
About.
And
Yeah.
and you have to follow your intuition because 9 times out of 10 it's going to lead you the right way. Where we as faith people, we pray a lot, but but
them 3 and 4 or 5 years. Oh no! Listen, somebody come to my daughter, talking about them. My daughter probably like, "Why you talking about me, Dad?" But anyway, and be like, "Listen, 4 or 5 years." I'm like, my man, if you ain't serious, listen, let it go.
Yeah.
Right. Like just let her go, leave her out in the world and to meet new people and different things. Like don't be trying to hold her back and stuff like that. So yeah, like just being really stagnant. And I noticed that every time that I disregarded my intuition, I suffered every single time. And it was like coming into that awareness of self that allowed me to understand that, the intuition is everything. Like that is God, that talking to you and letting you know what you need to be doing, where you need to be going or whatever it may be. So, whether it be that you're religious or you're spiritual or whatever, we all have an intuition and it's there for a reason. And we really need to listen to it and also take the time to make sure that whatever it is not, like I said, us making decisions out of fear. It's really about the core of our values and what we want. And is this person in alignment with it? Will we ever get what we want from them? Right? Like 4 or 5 years down the line, you know that's too long. I feel like personally, after you've been dating somebody for a year, 2 years, you should know whether or not you want to be with them. Like,
absolutely.
I just don't think it takes 5 years to figure out whether or not you want to be with someone.
There are a lot of people actually, who are probably, watching this broadcast, this podcast, and they've been in a relationship for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And we want you to, I'm not saying it's a bad thing for you, but you need to rethink that. Like, what are we doing? Where are we going in terms of the relationship? And, one thing we always say, everyone that, watches your podcast, they're not Christians, like, as far as what we are, we and if you are, pray about it, because at the end of the day, whether you're praying about it or not, I just think that's a long time to tie it up. It's not like you may enjoy the relationship, but I mean, come on, you've been married that long, you don't even got no tax benefits. Let me stop.
I know that's right. You gotta talk about it.
Still gotta file single.
Can we talk a little bit about the business of a marriage, right? Because people assume that marriage is just about love. They don't realize it's business too. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It is a business,
I wouldn't say it's a business, but
it's a commitment.
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. It is a partnership.
Okay, I won't say business, but it's a partnership.
You see that we already got that, yeah.
Which has a piece of business to it, right? In your partnership.
Yeah,
right. In managing it and all the different aspects of it, right?
Right. And the thing is that he just can't get up and walk away.
Exactly. It's that oneness. That oneness in marriage, is very important. You
gotta give a 2-week notice.
Nah, he can't walk away. Nah, he's not walking away.
And that's a good one. That's a good one.
I like that.
That's funny. I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna switch that around.
We're gonna use that. Can we use that?
Well, some people.
Oh, you have it. You can have it. Just let them know to check out the Yananomics podcast. Okay.
Some people treat their relationship like a 2-week notice.
Yeah.
Think about it now. Because listen, we become doctors, scientists. I mean, come on, we get all these degrees. You know, we trust God to do all these things in our life, whatever it is. But we give up when we got a problem in our relationship and marriage. I'm like, I mean, come on, we can help people with brain surgery, heart surgery, but we'll give up on our marriage, our relationship. That's what hurts me the most.
And that's sad. But you know, going back to the other part of your question prior to that, that's why you're in a long relationship and you're far as being married. If you're not married, he can't put you on his insurance.
That's true. They have this option now where you
do they have an option now?
It's like I can't think of the name. My mother was telling me about it. It's basically not marriage, but it's not single either.
It's a long term. It's a long. Yeah, if you've been
like a common law.
Common law. It's like
it's not common law either. It's an actual physical form that you can fill out with your partner or whomever it may be, and it is not, like I said, you don't get maybe like all the full benefits of a marriage, but it's like somewhere in between married and single. And I wish I knew the name of it. Yes, I'm telling you, like, because I actually looked it up more than once because I was like, what? Like, this is a thing? Like, I couldn't believe it, but it's actually a thing. I really wish I knew the name of it right now. But regardless of that, I feel like, you know, because we were talking about the structure of people's relationship and like how long they should wait and different things like that. And obviously, you know, I feel like to each its own. And this is for people who, no matter if marriage is the ultimate goal or not, like these are still things that people can incorporate into their lives and into their relationships, regardless of whether marriage is the end goal.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Well, I can say this one thing: Uncle Sam don't recognize you unless you marry.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying about that. No, you are absolutely correct about that.
Listen, Uncle Sam be like, listen, I'm your uncle. You ain't married. You ain't getting that tax benefit.
You ain't getting nothing.
Listen,
okay?
Let me tell you something. Listen, I love the fact that being married, I'd be like, shoot. People like, oh yeah, you married, head of household. Are you crazy? You're insane. If you're married, you file head of household. That's a disadvantage.
What should people file if they're married? What do you feel like is the most lucrative? And
married filing jointly.
Jointly.
Listen, it works out. You know, here's something we say, and I'm gonna switch it up a little bit though. Mm-hmm. People get married. What's the saying we always say, babe? You married in the bed, but
you don't marry in your bank account. You're one in the bed, but you're not one in your bank account.
Oh, break it down. You know, you got to break that down.
See, it's like, okay, we're married. Mm-hmm. We got this. But you know what? It's your money and my money.
That's right.
No, it's our money.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know, because listen, that's why you got married. Mm-hmm. So it's like saying, oh, the electric bill's yours, but the heating bill's mine. That's the dumbest thing I hear people say.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you.
So you think that splitting up bills is...
Listen, it's all your money.
It's all our money together.
It's all your money. Pay the bills, right? Like whoever is responsible for paying the bills, just pay them. Like
whoever the responsible one, yes.
Yeah. You pull all your money together, because what that does is that makes you more one in the relationship. Because you know why most people get divorced, only two things: it's sex
and money.
Sex and money.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, sex and money. Let's just be real here. And because people continue to say, you know, why are we not financially secure? Why are we not successful? Because you know why? You got a bank account and she has a bank account. Mm-hmm. So nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody knows.
I think that's the wildest thing. Now, some people like it. God bless you. They're very successful at it. But we encourage people, for couples in general, to have all the money looped in together.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, it really just depends on the relationship structure. But I think that
because you can hide money when you that way.
That's true. That's very true. You know, because so many women have been told, like, you should have your own little nest egg, and just in case things don't work out, or so you could whatever. So
but you're
I
married.
like
you get a divorce. Guess what? They're gonna split it down the middle anyway.
they ain't gonna care nothing.
So that's what I tell people.
What I mean is like hide money. I feel like some of the old school ways have been to hide a little bit of something to the side. I don't know if it's old school or not.
We've been there.
I'm 40. I'm in my 40s.
So,
we've been there
I feel like, what'd you say, sis?
We've been there as newlyweds. We were there before in newlyweds.
Okay, so it is a thing, right? Where
it is a
feel
thing,
like you should hide it.
But then I learned, see, what happened was that Martin was traveling on a business trip. And I believe you were in Detroit.
I was in Detroit.
Yeah, you were in Detroit.
Yeah.
And at that time, we lived in Florida. And I was watching the news, and I saw a news clip about his company and that they filed bankruptcy. And I called them. I said, babe, your company just filed bankruptcy. And he said, they did what? So
yeah, thanks for letting me know. I'm on a business trip and they filed bankruptcy. Appreciate it.
Right.
Kudos.
So he, immediately got back. He immediately got back home. And, we went through our savings account. Our savings account kept going depleted.
Started bleeding
money. It was just, we were okay. And then, he started, had his concern, his reservations and stuff of what was going on. And I said, oh, wait a minute.
She lifted up the mattress, had an envelope full of money.
I had all this money. And he was like, where did you get this from? And I says, oh, I've been had that. Mama always.
I'm like, good well.
Mama always said, don't put all your eggs in one basket, as you said.
Oh,
and I'm thinking I'm helping our, our financial situation. But he was so upset that he felt like, I was deceiving him.
Listen, think about this here. You're a young couple. Listen, I was already bald heads. I was getting more bald because I'm stressing out. How are we gonna live? I didn't know. Right. So now out of the blue, we got money. Mm-hmm. And when it's our money, mm-hmm. we always have this thing. We say when I got those bonuses, mm-hmm. it's our money. Mm-hmm. So, listen, right. It's for richer or for poor.
For richer for poor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we forget about that. We forget about that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no matter what it is, like whether we don't got no money, we got a lot of money, in between money, it doesn't matter. Right. Like we're in this together.
Yeah.
Long term.
And that's the thing, and it does tie back to knowing what you want, where you're going, and making sure you just secure the partner that's in alignment with what you want, from out of life and everything, and has your. Because one of the things you talked about is common interests and goals and things like that, right? But I felt like one of the things we definitely have to touch base on is communicating openly. I think that was your number 8 slide.
Yes.
And communication is probably one of the hardest things because we're getting all this information from all these different places about how we should communicate, what we should communicate, and then we have in our own minds, because, to your point earlier, real quick about learning from your parents about, like how to manage a relationship and things like that. And a lot of times we assume that if a person has a 2-parent household, that somehow it's a healthy relationship, they're learning all these great things. And a lot of times, a lot of people are more effed up coming out of a 2-parent home, where the parents decide to stay together in dysfunction versus, them separating and learning, like teaching their kids, like, hey, sometimes you have to separate as well, and that's healthier. So to your point about communicating openly, I feel like for me, that I had to learn about emotional intelligence before I really began to even understand. I was in my 30s before I began to even understand about communication, because that wasn't a part of my foundation. And I mean, even now in my 40s, more and more it becomes more apparent to me how important it is for me to just be open, to just express myself about what's on my mind, what's on my soul, and, things like that. But I think too, sometimes it's important to take a step back from your feelings and sort them out before you communicate them to your
Sometimes
partner.
you have to
I
write them
know for
down.
me, it's very helpful for me to take some time, sort out what I'm feeling so I don't bring a bunch of stuff, and I'm just bringing the core. How do y'all feel about that?
That's actually one thing that I do, and what I recommend people do if you're not wanting to communicate. Get a journal. Write
Mm,
the things down that you want to express, the things that you're dealing with, and that way you can really write everything out, and you can always go back and retrack and go back and look over and see and
mm-hmm.
communicate those parts that needs to be communicated, and those things, those issues that are dealing with you, you need to deal with yourself before you bring it to your spouse.
Because when the
Yeah.
emotions are high, sometimes we forget. And when you're in that moment, when you have that, the reason why we ask people who are watching to get a writing utensil and some paper, because when the emotions are going, when you're going through that activity or you're in that situation, when you're writing things down, it allows you to go back and reflect.
Yes.
Reflecting is how you can walk through a situation that you may be going through.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
listen, the older you get, you forget.
You forget.
Did you ask me to do something earlier? Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Well, you might be smoking a little Mary Jane too and forget some things. I'm just saying. It ain't just age, It's people from all walks of life forgetting things. But yes, I love your point about writing things down and, to just make sure that you can remember the things that are important. So one last thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, like real quick. Let me see. Trust, distrust.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say something too.
Oh
Like
yeah.
when you're in those what we call heated discussions,
Yes.
those heated discussions, and sometimes you have to walk away because sometimes you'll start saying things that you may regret in the future, and sometimes you got to walk away, calm down. I kind of think of it as like when you need to discipline your child or something for something they did. Sometimes you gotta walk away or step away and say, so you know what, let me calm myself down and then I'll deal with it tomorrow or
Yeah.
whenever you have the time, once you feel that you calm down, because sometimes the
Right.
discussions, they get really heated.
It's delayed. Like our kids when they was younger, we called it delayed discipline.
Yeah.
Now we're not talking about beating our kids up. Okay, I just want you to so
No,
you got to call
no.
DC up. We got adult kids anyway, but it's called delayed discipline, and you transition that into adulthood. It's delayed. You're not saying you're not going to communicate with the other person, but just delaying it till you calm down. Because listen, we're not animals. We don't get mad. We get angry. Animals are mad because they can't control their anger.
They're not tamed.
We're humans. We can control our anger. And that boils down to is you must display that fruit that, we say the fruit of the spirit. And when the fruit is self-control, you must have self-control. Self-control is very important in a relationship because when you don't have self-control, and one thing I don't tolerate, and women do it too, they hitting on the other spouse or the person. That's something I don't tolerate.
Yeah,
and women
no,
hit on men, and sometimes men, they allow that because the women become dominant and anger in the relationship. And she could be smaller than the guy. Not that she got to be bigger than him. And that's bad. That's why you have to calm down, take a step back and say, you know what? Let's have that in that heated moment, what we call them, heated discussions.
Mm-hmm.
We don't call them heated discussions. And let's think about it until we have everybody calm down and revisit it.
Yeah, I like that because I find that I take my time and we're talking about intimate relationships, like romantic relationships, but even with if I have to express something to my mom or something like that, just taking that step back and taking my time. And sometimes I even will write it out first before I actually say what I need to say. I find that to actually be very, very helpful. If I need to break off something, I had to break off a friendship. I took my time, wrote what I wanted to say, wrote through it so that I could make sure that what I was saying did not further harm the relationship, you know? So I feel like when you do take the time to communicate, whether it be write it out, journal, whatever you need to do, it shows how much you value that relationship. It shows that, you know, you really want to take the time to be sensitive and kind and caring towards your partner. Not only that, but you actually want resolve.
And it goes beyond
Yes.
relationships. It goes into corporate culture as well. You know, I
Mm,
speak to companies, you know, regarding their teams. And one of those things is I tell them, listen, so you get into an argument or a heated discussion with a coworker or a client. You can type the email, just don't put the email address in the signature. Because you know why? Listen, once you hit send, that's it.
it's over.
You can't retract it. And
It's not no coming
and
back.
that's problematic. So when you can type the email out, but you don't hit send and you don't type an email address in there, because it allows you to think about what you're going to say to that individual on the receiving end.
I love that, like 100%. And I have found this conversation to be so valuable, like 100%, because it's enough to start to get the conversation started. It's enough to get people started and reflecting on their relationships, even if whether they're in one or not, reflecting on what they want, what they value, what's important to them, and how to protect that thing. You know, how to keep that thing going. And I think you two so much for coming on to the Yananomics podcast tonight and really spreading that love, spreading that information to everyone that is watching tonight and who's going to watch in the future, you know?
That's right.
Because one of the things that I am working on doing, I'm going to make sure everybody gets a link to their podcast episode so that they can share it with their people.
Awesome.
That's great.
And you know, like people, this will be here for however long YouTube is available to people. And I just thank you
No, we
so
appreciate it. Thanks
so
for
Thank you.
having
Thank you
us.
for
this is
having us.
invaluable, like really and truly.
That's good.
I
I'm
learned a
glad.
lot. It helped to solidify things that I thought. It gave me new thoughts about things that I didn't think about. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and look forward to the next time. I think you guys are coming back in April
April.
to
Yes.
do another workshop, and I think that
Yeah.
one is on marriage and kids. Do you
Yeah.
know what the next one is? Do you
Yeah.
remember?
I think it is.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
that's what I think,
yeah.
because that's really important too. So I'm really excited to get into that conversation. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. So we are
Thank
going to
you.
close
Now,
this
we want
up.
to say one last thing, and that is don't forget to visit our website. Is www.mlbspeaks.com, and you can look us up on all the handles, social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, mlbspeaks.com. If you want, send us a message at info@mlbspeaks.com, and we'll get you the couples worksheet.
I love it. So everybody who's on right now, stay tuned. We're going to thank our ad sponsors, and you will learn how you can also become a Yananomics podcast facilitator. Good night, MLB Speaks.
Good night.
Thanks.
Peace. So we'd like to thank our sponsors for tonight, Rashidi Lucario, who is a credit repair specialist with RKT Appraisals, www.rktappraisals.com. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Carol Kelly, who's an educator and entrepreneur with They Call Me Mrs. Kelly. She offers virtual tutoring, proofreading services, Google Classroom consultations. She's amazing. Check her out. Rashidi's also amazing. I've used his services for credit repair, so you definitely got to check out our sponsors. And also, our sponsor for tonight is MLB Speaks, tonight's facilitators, who are marriage and youth motivators. Make sure you do check them out. If you got an opportunity to experience this workshop, you know that they're amazing at what they do, or any workshops that they've ever done. This is my first time seeing them speak, and they are amazing, and I highly recommend them for your event. And then, of course, Me, I'm a lifestyle enrichment specialist. Now, the Yananomics podcast is actually under my umbrella organization that's Onyx Restorative Justice. With Onyx Restorative Justice, my main focuses are helping our people to live their lives to its greatest potential through small business development services as well as holistic wellness. Our tagline is empowering excellence in community advancement. www.orjholisticservices.com. Make sure y'all get y'all ad sponsorships. If you are a business owner, you need an ad sponsorship. So these are different tiers. We have $125 tier, that's tier 1, $75 tier 2, $50 tier 3. Now for tiers 2 and 3, you get the essential level design. That's the one that you saw that MLB Speaks has. And for $125, you get the gold level design. Now, that was the designs that you saw for mine, and Carol and Rashidi's design. So, this is an opportunity for you to expand your network should you have a business. And you also are supporting us in the work that we do to educate, empower, inspire. Now, well, March 13th has already passed, but if there's anyone that is interested in becoming a Teach Me Tuesday facilitator because you have a passion or area expertise that you think the community needs to know about, do contact me and we can touch base directly if you are unable to make it potentially to one of our upcoming Teach Me Tuesday facilitator orientations. As you can see, we had one on March 13th, which went amazing. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I love doing the work that I do. And if you love doing the work that you do, you should hit us up. As I was saying before, my umbrella organization that the Yananomics podcast is under, as well as some of the other businesses that I run, is Onyx Restorative Justice. We offer holistic wellness services, small business development services, as well as the Yananomics podcast. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the evening, day, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. Peace.